Hey guys, how's it going? Today I have this Insignia Apple TV remote control cover that's designed to fit second and third generation Apple TV remotes. And I received this from Best Buy a little over a month ago. And when I initially received this cover, I did an unboxing video where, I opened this box up and I took the cover out, looked it over a little bit. And also in that video, I decided to just go ahead and install this cover on my Apple remote. And I had a real difficult time getting this installed. This cover is very tight, very form-fitting. It doesn't install like, say, your phone would in your phone cases. A lot of those, they're just open in the front, and you just push your phone in and, push the cover on around the edges. This cover it's just a hollow silicone sleeve, okay? And if you'll notice on this end, it has a big opening right here, and this is where you insert your Apple remote. You just push it into that large opening. And what happened was it went on about 3/4 of the way, and I had about this much of the Apple remote still to go, and then it just got stuck, okay? And it was really difficult to massage this cover on the rest of the way and get that remote work the rest of the way in there. It was a real struggle. And you really do need to get it, pushed in all the way, because this cover has these little cutouts for your buttons, and they kind of need to line up pretty good. So yeah, it was a real struggle getting this on there. And I also did a follow-up review video after using this cover for 3 weeks, just talking about the positives and negatives of it. And one of the main negatives was these cutouts. Although they line up pretty well with the buttons, again, they have these little gaps around these buttons. And you can kind of see the silver from the Apple remote underneath peeking through. What's going to happen over time is, as you use this remote, all the dirt and crud and grime on your fingers, lint, say you have kids and they have, residue from potato chips and Doritos and stuff, it's all going to get worked into these little cracks around these buttons. And although you decide to use a rag, maybe you use a rag and some alcohol like I do, okay, to just wipe off the outside of your cover, you'll get the cover surface clean and you'll get the buttons surface clean, but you won't be able to get that crud that is built up in these cracks around these buttons without actually removing this cover and cleaning around the buttons and then reinstalling it. So again, since I initially installed this cover on this Apple remote over a month ago, I have not removed it. So at the end of my review video, I pointed out that I was going to do a little video of me just uninstalling this cover, and then cleaning my remote and then reinstalling, and just seeing if over time, if being installed on this Apple remote has maybe stretched the silicone out a little bit, so that, each time you remove it and then reinstall it, if it's going to get easier over time, or if it's actually going to be just as difficult every time you have to reinstall it. And I'm doing that for those of you out there who like to regularly keep their remotes clean, like to, get all that stuff cleaned out of there. I'm doing this video for those of you out there who just want to take the cover off and be sure and get it fully clean when you clean it. And just see if it's going to be a little easier every time you do it, or if it's always going to be just as difficult as it was the first time. Because if it is, and it's such a struggle, if it's such a chore to do it, you may want to consider purchasing a different type of cover than this Insignia cover. With that being said, again, this is the first time I've removed it. Now, this silicone on the front is very thin. It's pretty thin all over, but the front is the thinnest. I do not recommend ever pulling or tugging on this silicone, because I think you could tear it. You just kind of have to work the sides. That's how I did it. You just kind of pinch in on the sides to, work the cover on and off. And I also want to point out that when you're installing it or removing it, the Siri button over here, because you're going to have to really mush down, you're going to have to push down pretty good to kind of work this on. Try and avoid mashing in on this Siri button, because I think if you mush in that hard repeatedly on this button, you're going to damage your Siri button. So just try and avoid, damaging your Siri button. Just kind of, massage it below, just a little bit below the button, but try not to mash that Siri button because you don't want to damage this remote, okay? So again, it has a large opening on the end. We're gonna have to push this out. I'm gonna start by pushing on this charger port opening just to kind of get it initially started. But once I get it moved in a little bit, I don't want to keep pushing in this hole because once it pushes in a little bit, your finger is going to start going into that hole. You could possibly force your finger into this hole and actually tear these edges. So I'm just going to initially, again, start by pushing on this and holding on the sides of the silicone, sides of the remote, and kind of squeezing and just kind of holding on these sides pretty good and just kind of pushing. You'll see it's kind of bubbling up already. I'm just going to push. You can see it sliding out pretty good. And once I get initially started, okay, I don't want to push to that hole anymore. I don't want to tear it. So I'm just going to kind of fold this. I'm just going to mush this over a little bit like that. And then, again, try to avoid pushing that Siri button. Kind of hold right below it. And then just kind of hold the sides and just kind of push this out like that. Just kind of fold your silicone over a little bit and just work it out. Okay? And it's coming out pretty decent. I mean, again, as you can see, it's not just sliding right out. It's got a pretty good grip. And I think once you get it, this is about how far I had it pushed in when I got it stuck. I think you could actually grip. Well, I was going to grip it, but I don't want to mash that Siri button. So let's push it up just a little bit more. Because again, I don't want to hurt the Siri button. Push it out just a little bit more, kind of fold this over. When you get about right here, it's really thin. You don't want to tear these cutouts. So I would just kind of stop right about here. Hold it down here, I think, right below the Siri button right here. And maybe just kind of pull it off like that. Oh yeah, much better. Because you don't want to tear these holes. This silicone on the front of this cover is very thin. And yeah, there we go. Just kind of, once you get it there, it should just kind of slide right out. And there it is. I've had this for about a month, but it looks pretty clean, okay? It doesn't look dirty at all. I don't notice anything. I am going to take a little alcohol, just a little bit. You don't want to oversaturate. You don't want your alcohol, you don't want your rag so saturated a lot of alcohol, drips down around these buttons. I'm just going to put just a little bit on this corner like I've always done. And just kind of clean around these buttons real quick. Just kind of clean around them. It doesn't really look too dirty. Actually looks pretty clean, actually. And just kind of clean around these buttons. And yeah, I can just kind of wipe the whole. It really shouldn't be dirty anywhere else because, again, this thing covers everything else really good. And shouldn't allow any dirt in there anywhere else around this remote because it's a very tight fitting cover. So now we're going to reinstall it. And again, we're going to do it just like we did the first time. So let that alcohol dry for just a few seconds because I don't want to make it sticky. Might make it a little harder to push in. So let that alcohol dry just for a second. But we're going to push this back on and just see if it's just as hard to reinstall the second time or if it's going to feel a little easier, okay? So again, we're just going to start with the charger port end of your remote and we're going to start pushing this into this cover. And just kind of hold on the sides there and hold it. And again, watch out for your Siri button. You don't want to mash that Siri button and damage it. And I'm just going to start by holding. I'm going to kind of cup the sides and just kind of pull them down. And yeah, it does feel like it's going on a little easier. Maybe that alcohol. Oh yeah, it is going much easier the second time. As you can see, it slid right back on. Now. And there you go. That was way easier than the first time, guys. And I want to point out, I didn't wipe this off with alcohol when I initially installed it. And maybe wiping it off with that alcohol and letting it dry, maybe it acted as a little bit of a lubricant. I don't know. Because it slid right on real easy this time, guys. Way easier. So yeah, this is going to be no trouble at all. For those of you out there who like to regularly remove your covers and then reinstall them after cleaning, it's going to be much easier the second time. At least it was for me. Again, the first time I installed this, it was a real struggle, but that time it went right back on. And it probably does have something to do with the fact that it's been on the remote for over a month, and it probably has stretched this silicone out just a little bit and made it a little bit, you know, a little bit easier, a little bit more stretched out and a little bit less grippy. But yeah, guys, so there you go. Good as new. And while I've got a little alcohol in this rag, let's go ahead and wipe the surface off again. I'll show you that when I use alcohol in this, I just kind of wipe it off like that. That it doesn't pull any lint off my rag. Okay? It doesn't pull any lint off my rag. It doesn't, this case is real good about not, you know, picking up lint and stuff. As you can see, it didn't pick up anything off my rag. And it dries really quick. It doesn't leave any smudging. Once it dries, it doesn't leave any smudging or anything on your remote. And if you'll notice on the rag, it doesn't pick any black up off the cover. So, yeah. So that's it, guys. I just want to do that video for those of you out there who may be curious of how hard this is going to be to remove and install. And I got to say, that second time, it was much, much easier. So I hope you liked the video, and I hope I answered your questions that you had about removing and reinstalling this cover. And if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And better yet, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out a little bit. And also on top of that, it's going to notify you, you know, every time I have a new video for you to come back and check out and see if it's a video that you'd be interested in watching and maybe, you know, something you'd like to learn a little bit about. So, yeah, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I appreciate it, and have a really good day.